Welcome to the Starzology Astrology Podcast. I'm Alison Price, and I'm here with my co-host, Arwynne O'Neill.
Hi, Alison. It's great to be here again.
Lovely to have you. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about Venus in the signs.
Yes.
So we're going to be having a look at Venus in through each of the 12 signs of the zodiac. In a way, it's almost a back to basics episode where we're going to set some ground rules about Venus and how we are seeing it.
Yes, this is a great topic and a very desired topic.
It is.
No pun intended, desired. Venus.
So we're going to start with some Venus keywords and a little bit about what Venus is, what Venus represents in a chart, and then we'll move on to Venus through the signs. And over time, we'll get around to all the planets.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay. So would you like to start us off with a few basics about Venus?
Yes. Well, obviously, Venus is the goddess of love. Venus was the Roman goddess of love based on Aphrodite, the Greek goddess of love. She represents beauty, grace, harmony, love, relationships. As an actual goddess, she was quite the vengeful wench. She smote people and cursed people and did horrible things to people who were either not worshiping her correctly or crossed her or whatever. But yeah, we in astrology, this is the goddess of love, and in your chart it represents. This is a bit of like the kind of the old school, like as you might say, sexist sort of way of looking at it. But for a woman, it's your attractiveness, what you portray sexually to whoever you want to be attractive to. And in other people's charts, whether male or female, it's the type of woman you're attracted to.
Yes.
So Venus is about attractiveness and about how you are also in relationships. Very much important to look at that if you're doing a chart comparison or even if you're just obviously interpreting someone's chart and they want to know about relationships and love and romance and will I meet the one and all that.
Yes.
You definitely want to look at their Venus placement.
Yeah, that's a great way of looking at it because Venus will be in everybody's chart. So it's going to represent your relationships and what you love, I think, as
Absolutely.
well.
Yeah, I mean, the first few things that you look at, obviously, the Holy Trinity, as we say, the sun, moon, and rising sign. But then right after that, it's Venus and Mars.
Yes,
and
yes.
In that order, I would think, too.
Yeah, it's great. So Venus is one of the two feminine planets, the other one being the moon.
Yeah. And
everything else is really masculine in our group.
Well, thank goodness for Eris, the bad girl of the zodiac, but that's another topic altogether. Yeah. And of course, Venus is also about money. That's another thing. It's one of the money planets, as we say. Venus and Pluto are the money planets. So definitely you want to look at your Venus placement to see how you
earn.
Yeah.
What's money like
or
in your life?
What's valuable to you kind of thing.
Didn't Shakespeare say something about it of the love of money is the root of all evil?
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, love and money are the two things that they say make the world go around, right?
Yeah, that's all Venus.
Yeah.
So, and I've got to tell you, as a practicing astrologer, most of the questions I get in consultations are, where's the love, where's the money, and variations on those two. So it all comes down to Venus.
Yeah.
So understanding your whole Venus complex is a great thing to do. And probably the first step is to look at your Venus by sign.
For sure. And also if you're in a relationship or looking at someone as a potential mate, you want to know where their Venus is and compare to yours and all that stuff.
You do. Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah. So in this episode, we are going to be talking about Venus through the signs. And I'm going to be quoting quite liberally from a book by our favorite, Stephen Arroyo. This is actually, I believe, his most recent book. And if that's not correct, it's from 2007. So it's one of his most recent books. He has been writing since the 70s. He's an icon. And this is called Person-to-Person Astrology, Energy Factors in Love, Sex, and Compatibility. So this is actually an amazing book. I really, really love his writing style. It's just so accessible. He is incredibly knowledgeable about human psychology and about astrology, obviously. But in this book, he actually did a lot of research, and he has quotes throughout the book by people who actually have these sign placements. So when he talks about, say, Venus in Aries, he will actually say, this woman with Venus in Aries wrote to me and said this or that, or a man with Venus in Aries says this or that, or someone who has dated a few people with Venus in Aries has this to say. And you get these wonderful, tangible, just very real sort of quotes from actual people, in addition to his incredibly insightful, knowledgeable information. So what I was going to say is there's this intro that he has, which I think reveals a bit more about Venus, not just in relationships, but he says, Venus's position, especially its sign, reveals much about one's tastes and values and how one shares with others, one's mode of giving and receiving energy and affection, both socially and also intimately. Venus's placement shows a great deal about one's need to feel close to others, how one feels emotional comfort and harmony and togetherness. So the details of the placement are remarkably revealing about how one is capable of relating on a personal, intimate level, how one feels in a social setting, and also how one, expresses their passionate feelings. So what they're passionate about could be very much flavored by their Venus placement, where it is in their chart, and the aspects that it makes. So it's not just about love and relationships, but it is about basically everything that makes sort of life flavorful and everything that you could be passionate about in your life.
Oh, yeah, that is a great introduction there. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great, Arwynne. So let's just have a look then about Venus in Aries, and for people who have Venus in Aries.
Yeah, absolutely. So Aries is the first of the fire signs. And Stephen Arroyo is very much about the elements. So he says, first of all, about all of the fire signs, that Venus in the fire signs, affection and appreciation are expressed energetically, directly, and grandly. So this will be applicable to Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. This person feels love and closeness with others through sharing of vigorous activities, as well as mutual aspirations and enthusiasms, such as the sense of their own superior ideals. So Venus in Aries, he says, those with Venus in the impulsive, aggressive, impatient sign of Aries are driven to impress people, show others new things, or introduce them to new experiences. They feel the need to truly excel in their chosen field. They also need to feel that they're in charge, directing the action. However, in relationships, they are especially attracted to others who show a similar initiative, which often leads to conflicts. So these headstrong individuals admire people who are forceful and innovative, but they don't always get along with them. So their greatest charm is their straightforwardness in their approach to social interactions, which is often laced with daring humor. And I've actually really noticed this too, actually. Wow. If things begin to go awry, especially after the initial excitement wears off, their mood can change quickly to being combative, overly sensitive, and easily offended. They're not known for their subtlety, and they are often very competitive. They like sports like boxing, and they like to be able to sort of let off steam, and also to be appreciated for those things, for being athletic, for being forceful, and for being a bit of an aggressive kind of person. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like they're kind of competitive in love and romance. Eh?
Yeah, absolutely. And very individualistic, assertive, and independent.
Wanting to, how about it, babe? Yeah, that's how it's just coming across. There's no pussyfooting around.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know many people with Venus in Aries, but...
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting how these things cluster, yes. Like how you tend to know people who have very similar placements. Like exactly. I've said before, I have so many friends who have the moon in Cancer that it's just almost eerie.
Yes.
And I think, well, we can get into this later in the topic, but yeah, very similar placements just recur often in your life. Like you'll suddenly say, why do I know all these Scorpios right now?
I know. It's so true. Yeah. It's so true.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So let's have a look then at the next one, which would be Venus in Taurus.
Yeah, and this is one of the rulerships that Venus obviously rules both Taurus and Libra. And Libra is more of an airy sort of, it is an air sign, obviously, but Venus in Taurus is the earthy, sort of grounded, pleasure-oriented sign. It's focused on comfort and harmony. It's very focused on food and the sort of earthly pleasures, like
comfort,
chocolate and wine and comfort, and showing someone that you care for them. By taking care of them in not in a Cancerian way, but just in a luxurious kind of way, almost. It says that this is an excellent. Their taste is excellent. They appreciate classics and symmetry, and they have a propensity towards gaudy and ultra luxury sometimes, which is really funny actually, because there is a thing with Taurus and gold, for example.
Yes.
Much depends on their background, but also on other factors in their chart. So they may be very concerned with their appearance, with their attire and their home and how that appears. And they could be noticeably either greedy or stingy, he says. This is all, again, Stephen Arroyo. So it's one of the money planets, as we say. Yeah, but Taurus is also one of the most materialistic of the signs. and in a good way or bad way, they do have a lot of focus on their body and on, their socially pleasing sort of affectations. They can also be possessive, and they can be a bit greedy or materialistic, unfortunately. But yeah, they express their affections physically, warmly, and possessively, and they can sometimes be reluctant to release their feelings or lose control. Okay. So they can be a little not like the Venus in Aries, where it's just all outgoing and aggressive and independent. They can actually be a little bit more sort of withholding, especially if they feel like they're not safe with you.
Wow.
Yeah.
One thing that comes to mind with this particular placement for me is, I think it's this Danish word of hygge, is it Hygge, of coming together, almost cuddling and cocooning.
Soft,
and
cozy sweaters.
Yes,
warm
and
fires.
Nice fire and nice comfort foods going down, and
totally
that business of bringing it all together.
Potatoes and
meat and potatoes. You know where you are.
Yellow curry with chicken and potatoes is one of my absolute favorites.
Oh, is it?
Oh my God. Yeah, that's a very Venus in Taurus.
Yeah, this is a great place because Venus is in rulership in Taurus, and it can just be itself and come through highly strong. So I think if anyone has Venus in Taurus, it's likely to be their strongest planet. Yeah. And it may even be that final dispositor. You'd have to, of course, have a look at the chart.
Yeah,
but certainly it's a well-placed Venus.
It is a well-placed Venus. Yeah. It's interesting, though, because obviously these things are very much colored by where it is in your chart and where the aspects are. So if you have Venus in Taurus, you may think, oh, that's a great placement, but you could have it, square to your Mars, or you could have like an opposition to Neptune, or some other thing that kind of colors it in a way that makes it less favorable. So that's always something that you want to look at.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but it's
complicating factors.
Yeah, but it's still a good placement.
A good placement, for sure.
A good placement. Lovely. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on, let's have a look at the third sign. So Venus in Gemini.
Yes, this is the first of the air signs. And Venus in Gemini is changeable, lively, endlessly curious, and invariably has a broad range of interests and remarkable social skills. They are linguistically clever, and they love to converse. They love to have a wide variety of friends. They're diplomatic, tactful, and authentically curious. So they really make you, they're wonderful flirts. They really make you feel like you're like the most interesting person in the room, which is a wonderful quality to have. And they can be they can easily become bored or fickle in relationships because they have so many interests, but they are charming as hell. And one of the big problems in their lives is that they can have a hard time being satisfied in one relationship because there are just so many options out there, and they can become bored very quickly in a relationship. So the worst thing that can, in the modern era, we all have so many options, right? Yeah. This is definitely a Venus and Gemini era that we're living through, almost in the sense of like we have all these apps, we have endless opportunities to not focus on one person, but they are charming, they are clever, they are playful, and they like to have a lot of stimuli. So if you are in a relationship with someone who has Venus and Gemini, keep them entertained. Suggest different activities, play games with them, go out and surprise them. They love surprises. They love surprise parties. They love to to just kind of encounter different facets of your personality. So if you can be a different person to them every few months, like they will stay interested. Wow. Mental rapport is highly valued as well. They are attracted to someone that has a quick wit or is just an interesting person, and they love to share their thoughts and to verbally be close to somebody. So if you are not a talker, if you just like to sort of cuddle up and your day has been long and you don't want to talk at the end of the day, Venus and Gemini might not be the partner for you. Yeah. I've heard with this one that Venus and Gemini, they can actually tell you to go to hell, and you actually look forward to the trip because they are so smooth telling you where to get off. Yeah, exactly. So, a couple hours later, you might feel like, wait a minute. Yeah, what was that? Yes. Yeah. But you feel good about it. At the time. Oh, yeah. You're like, oh, they were speaking to me. All right. So moving on then, let's have a look at Venus in Cancer. Yeah. And this is the first of the water signs. So for these people, Stephen Arroyo says, Venus in water signs, and this is about all three of the water signs. So this is Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. For these people, the physical body is a conduit for expressing and experiencing concentrated emotional energy and exchange. Their appearance matters to them less than Venus in the other three elements, because so long as sharing feels right. So it's about just yearning for emotional connection, in any way, shape, or form. And Venus in Cancer experiences fluctuations in their emotions that reflect their moods. So this can be they can express comforting kindness and affection, but they can also be they can surrender to fear and self-centered insecurity. So they can be very loyal and reliably sympathetic and responsive to each other's needs, or they can be so insecure and fearful that they can become timid, possessive, defensive, and paranoid, which is an unfortunate side effect of being so sensitive as an emotional being. They can be charming, he says, in a childlike way, but they can also be they can also be selfish in relationships because they are so self-protective. If you think about that Cancerian shell, they really feel the need to protect themselves. And this can actually block their ability to relate to somebody in a relationship unless they feel completely safe in their intimacy.
So that's interesting. So they don't want to expose themselves to love or rejection even.
Right. Yeah, unless they just are very, very committed.
Okay.
And then they can just open up to you completely.
Yeah.
So this is the most domestic placement, he says, for Venus. And the importance of having a secure home base, or at least continual contact with either their family or their family of the created family is super important. They need to have an emotional base of operations in order to feel comfortable in the world and in their relationships. Right. They love doing domestic activities with their partner. So cooking, gardening, even cleaning house, or just lightly socializing while music is playing, and just kind of they're puttering around in the kitchen. I'm totally picturing my grandma doing this kind of thing.
Yes.
And she was, very. Anyway, these folks are very sensitive to atmosphere and other people's moods. So they really just any water sign will pick up on other people's moods and emotions very strongly. They're very easily hurt and vulnerable. So they'll seek to soothe other people's feelings. But if they're picking up that there's something wrong in the atmosphere, they can easily begin to react to that and become agitated. If you're sort of hiding something, or if you had a bad day and you're trying not to tell them, they will pick up on it. So, you want to reassure them that it's not them. You just had a bad day at work.
Yes.
Like, you don't want to just not tell them why you're acting weird, because they will pick up on it and think it's them. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting, that one. Yeah.
But so their need for emotional closeness could be hampered by moodiness, timidity, or self-protection. But they do really feel the need to nurture and be nurtured. So when that is expressed in a protected environment, it can be wonderful.
Wow, it sounds like a really good placement, actually, doesn't it? Yeah,
lovely.
Excellent. Right, so let's have a look now at Venus in Leo.
Yeah. So here's what Stephen Arroyo has to say about this. They express affection warmly, dramatically, playfully, and enthusiastically. The exchange of deeper feelings can be encumbered by their need to be the center of attention or to dominate other people's emotional lives, but they give of themselves with creative vitality, and they receive from others gracefully and proudly. They can be very generous and very loyal. So they are rather dramatic in their love lives. They love grandeur and excitement. They often stage affectionate displays and romantic situations. So I'm thinking of these guys who propose on the big screen at a sporting event.
Yes.
And the girl is just like blushing and, turning all kinds of red. And he's,
The big event.
The big event, exactly. Yeah. They have a tremendous pride in their partner, and they love to be appreciated for their generosity and for their romantic gestures. They can be very easily offended by real or imagined slights. So if you're insensitive with them, or God forbid, if you do anything to embarrass them in front of other people, or you demean them, or it could be over before you know it. If you somehow embarrass them in front of friends or family and something that hurts their ego. They are grandiose. They are attention seeking. They can be snobs, it says, and their constant need for praise is it could be a weakness for flattery, but at the same time, if you genuinely feel it, that could be a wonderful way to keep them happy.
Yes.
Yeah. And they do have a really lovely sunny, as no pun intended, as they're ruled by the sun, but they have a wonderful, just a regal disposition, and they can be very glamorous and very happy, and yeah, as long as you just keep them pampered and cared for, they can be a wonderful.
Yes, I think they do like the lap of luxury. I do see this quality goods, this and that, and displays of affection that are over the top.
It's probably not. It's almost the opposite of that Venus in Cancer, where they will not, for their birthday, want you to just be like, oh, well, let's just stay in and make you a nice dinner at home. No, they want to go out. They want to have the balloons, the cake, the singing in the restaurant, and everybody turning their heads and being like, what's happening? Oh, and they're like, oh, you shouldn't have.
But you should have.
You should have. You must.
Yes, and if you don't, you'll be out the door.
Yeah.
Yes,
and I will never forget the one thing you told me about Leos. It's not just about the gift; it's about how it's presented.
Yes.
It's about the wrapping paper and the bow and the
presentation
gold.
is everything.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
And I think with Venus and Leo, it would definitely
absolutely,
be presentation. Yeah,
great.
Yeah. Oh, and it says here one little, just a tidbit. If you have someone in your life, saying "I'm proud of you."
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, let's move on then to Venus in Virgo.
Yes, and we know a few people with this.
We do.
Yeah. That'd be you.
Yes, yes. I'll put my hand up to this, definitely.
My partner. And
really?
My partner, yeah. And also, weirdly, I've had a few long-term relationships in my life, not a ton, but a handful, and they've all had Venus in Virgo. Like literally all the men I've dated for any length of time whatsoever.
So it's catching your Virgo planets.
Yeah. So this is like, I mean, I'm talking like 4 or 5, like, and they all have Venus in Virgo.
Wow.
Weird. Yeah.
So does your partner's Venus conjoin your Virgo planets as well?
I mean, sometimes I think this in this particular case, no, but it's in the sign. So yeah.
I do know, yes. I think nothing like Venus and Virgo.
When I found that out, I was like, what? That's eerie.
Yes,
that's just weird.
Yes.
But anyway.
They love the Virgo.
That's why we do this. Yeah, exactly. And I do love to be loved. So yeah. But we'll get there.
We'll get to that. Yeah.
So Venus and Virgo. This is what Stephen Arroyo has to say. Venus, like those with Venus in the analytical, precise, efficient sign of Virgo, find their own contradictions and complications, plenty of material to feed their voracious love of analysis. The unfortunate part of this tendency is that it often leads to excessive criticism, both of themselves and of others, and to a great deal of self-consciousness, which is hardly a recipe for spontaneous, relaxed living or loving. They want someone who is healthy, helpful, faithful, and with an even greater love of life, work, and duty. So they really like to have someone who they can respect. That's incredibly important to them. If they don't feel like their partner is pulling their weight, they can become very annoyed. And this is someone who will put in a lot in the relationship and will put in a lot of work. And if they don't feel like you are someone who is willing to do that, you can be
on the heap.
Yeah, and very quickly. And this is something that I mean, I remember, not to, overshare, but one of the things I remember very early in our relationship was having a big, what I considered a huge blowout of a fight. And I'm not someone who storms out generally, but he's a Scorpio. And so some, silent treatment was happening, and I stormed out, but I didn't actually leave. I just stood there in the hallway and I was like, I don't want to leave. And finally, my God, finally he came out into the hallway. I might have been making some sort of subconscious noises or something. and he just said, why are you leaving? I thought we were in this together. Aren't we going to work on this? And I've never threatened to leave again. And that was 25 years ago because he's right, yeah, I do want to work on this, That's just a silly thing to think, you can just storm out and have someone chase you all the time. It's just,
Ain't gonna happen.
If you've got someone with Venus and Virgo, don't don't pretend to storm out. Don't cause a scene in a restaurant. No. So they are affectionate in a matter-of-fact, modest, helpful, practical way.
Yes.
They can, unfortunately, they can be petty and criticize, and but this is only because they are such perfectionists with themselves, even.
Yes.
And their expression of emotional affection is very much about give and take. So if you are pulling your weight and you are helpful as well, then you have nothing to worry about. This is not the most romantic placement, unfortunately, but they will absolutely do anything for you.
It's not a romantic placement. No.
But if they are absolutely helpful, and they do want to see you do your best. So yeah. And they're attentive to details. So they will definitely notice things about you that you like and that you don't like. And yeah, it's not a romantic placement, but it has its moments.
But I would say it's a steady love, to put it that boringly. But the criticism is definitely there. With my late husband, if he needed a haircut, and I'm talking 3 millimeters, I'd be on it and saying, you need to get a haircut. Yeah. And he'd be saying, no, it's this and that. I'm going to grow in a ponytail. And one year he did. Well, no, it was not working. It was, just to be rebellious. But I'm thinking, get a bloody haircut. What are you doing? And things like that. Just it's the details. It's once the hair starts to kind of
Yeah. And I care a lot about my appearance too, but it's funny. There are certain things that my partner has been like, are you wearing those again? Like,
yes.
These ratty old like sweatpants that I have they're just so comfy and I can't find anything to replace them. And he's like, you could get a new pair of sweatpants, they do sell them in the stores. And I'm like, okay.
It is so true. The actual appearance of going out in public with a partner who is a love interest who is less than properly dressed.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And you hate yourself for it, but it's just the way it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's not romantic. I don't think it is, but it's there,
Yeah, but then again, this isn't someone who's going to lie to you. If you say, I feel like I've gained a few pounds, does this shirt look okay on me? They could be like, I'd wear a different shirt. You will get an honest, all other things being equal, with any luck, if the Venus in Virgo is active, you will get an honest, maybe not the flowery kind of like, oh, you look beautiful and everything. Yeah, they might think you look beautiful, but they will help you to not embarrass yourself.
Yes.
If you think, my hair is looking a little, they'll be like, yeah, you need to get your haircut.
And don't go to Bob on the corner. No. Go to Andre in the mall and pay twice as much because otherwise you look like rubbish.
Yes.
Don't come home with that stupid
100%. 100%. Exactly. Yeah. That's really important. Yeah.
So one can be very critical of the person you love.
Yeah.
And it's only because you want them to be perfect.
Yes.
Like they were the day you met them.
Yes. And don't we all want that?
Well, if you've got Venus in Virgo, you absolutely do.
Yes.
You absolutely do.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's have a look at Venus in Libra.
Yes, this is the other rulership of Venus.
Right.
So, yeah, this is the airy, intellectual, harmonious sort of placement of Libra or
charming.
Of Venus.
They're just charming.
Yes, and people with Venus in Libra like to express themselves in relationships harmoniously. They prefer to be sweet and romantic and not certainly not argue in front of other people. They really, egalitarian relationships are very important to them. So if they feel like you're taking advantage of them, or if you're getting away with something somehow, or you're not, being romantic in the way that they want you to be,
yes.
Or if you the honeymoon's over and suddenly you're taking them for granted. Oh, no, that's absolutely not. And they can have a horrible reaction, it says here in this book by Stephen Arroyo, to personal rejection. And more than any other sign, it says Libra takes everything personally. And my God, yes, I can relate to that. Yeah. It says they're not particularly emotional, and I can absolutely attest to that.
Right.
But they are invariably romantic and sentimental. They love to be in love and will often compromise excessively or give others the benefit of the doubt to their own detriment, in order to smooth things over and to make things lovely and pleasant and harmonious and equal. They express their affections sincerely, considerately, charmingly, and harmoniously. They have a deep need for peace and tranquility, and their need for harmony can often lead to unpleasant emotional exchanges and limit the scope of their intimacy because maybe they make others feel uncomfortable with their constant need for closeness or harmony or pleasantness in the relationship.
Yes.
Yeah. But symmetry and equality and harmony.
Charm the birds out the trees.
These
this
things
one.
are important to them. Yeah.
Yes, it's a nice placement. It's all very pleasant, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And grace and beauty are, of course, the Venus and Libra buzzwords. And it is interesting when you look at celebrities who have Venus and Libra. I mean, Beyonce, we talked about in a recent podcast.
Yeah.
There are a startling number of movie stars, and
The beauties of the world.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. It's just it's a very symmetrical sort of placement.
Amazing, yeah. Okay, let's have a look at Venus in Scorpio.
Yeah. So Venus in Scorpio is intense, passionate, compulsive, and never does anything halfway. They are thorough and psychological and emotional in nature, just like all the other Venus in water sign placements. But yeah, their subconscious mind does all the work, it says, and they like to analyze and get to know somebody deeply. They're very inquisitive, and they have a gut feeling about things. So they can be great detectives and researchers, just like any kind of Scorpio placement. But unfortunately, this can also, as in any, you'd think in a relationship, anyone who is deeply inquisitive, if they are not met with absolute openness, they can become paranoid, jealous, and
yes,
vengeful. You do not want to cross someone with Venus and Scorpio in a relationship or in business, because this is definitely what their penetrating gaze is scanning for not just for your weaknesses and your true personality, because they want to know you deeply, but they are looking for betrayal.
Infidelity.
Yeah, exactly. Of any kind, betrayal of any kind, but especially infidelity in a relationship, obviously. So they can be deep and at times unfathomable, but their core psychological qualities are, they express their affection intensely, passionately, obsessively, and with an extreme consuming feeling. Their social and love needs tend to be hindered by their inclination to secrecy. So they want to know you deeply, and they want to know everything about you, and they're scanning you for betrayal. But at the same time, they are reluctant to trust others. So they can probably bring upon themselves the very thing they fear the most.
Exactly. That is very true. Yes.
Yeah. Because if you feel like you're being probed and penetrated, you're going to recoil and try to cover up, obviously. But yeah, they can also be incredibly deep and passionate, obviously, and intense. And that's a good thing.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, Venus in Scorpio.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's have a look at Venus in the final fire sign, Sagittarius.
Yes. So people with Venus in the freedom-loving, open-minded sign of Sagittarius are very fun-loving, idealistic, happy-go-lucky, philosophical, and they have a buoyant resilience to life. So this is a fun person to be with.
Yes.
They can be very adventurous. They can be a wonderful traveling companion.
They love life.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
They always crave variety and they crave adventure. So they're a wonderful person to try different restaurants, try different types of food, travel to different places. They love surprises. They love to, infuse everyday moments with adventure and excitement. So this can be a really fun person to, explore, start a book club or explore different, different restaurants or different weird adventures, or go to an escape room, or, surprise them on their birthday with a biking trip across the city to
imagine.
Whatever, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or sign up for some kind of, fencing classes together or something, something odd and different.
Yes.
Yeah. They really do like to have, to explore their intellectual horizons. And if you're a partner with this person, they would love to share that with you. Mm-hmm. So they express their affection freely, enthusiastically, generously, and idealistically. They're motivated by an innate trust and faith in human nature and in love's blessings. They have a restless urge for freedom, adventure, and always anticipating that you can improve your relationship and continue to grow and achieve greater heights together. So they're tolerant and broad-minded towards love and the need for philosophical harmony and honesty, but they may also be insensitive towards other people's feelings because of that honesty that always comes with being a Sagittarius. Yes. So as we were saying with the Venus and Virgo pecking at you, the Venus and Sagittarius might just like blurt out, "My God, that shirt makes you look fat."
Yeah, straight up.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're a more sensitive type, that could be a problem.
Yes.
But
yes.
it's nice to know where it's coming from.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So let's have a look now at Venus in Capricorn.
Yeah, and this is the last of the Earth signs. This is the most solid and practical and matter of fact and serious of the Earth signs. So that doesn't sound maybe as romantic as one might hope, but they are great for material security. They have a very dry sense of humor. They will definitely spoil you if they're in love with you. And this is someone who will spare no expense to put on a beautiful, spread of food or, gifts, lavish you with like expensive.
Buy you a farm or something.
Right. Or jewelry or whatever it is that they think that you like. I had a friend once with Venus in Capricorn who gave lovely gifts because this, I don't really care that much about brands. I sometimes make my own clothes, shop at thrift stores, whatever. I don't, not like a label whore, as they say. Yes. But this person, was like, no, this you deserve this label of whatever. And, okay, thanks. That's
this
awesome.
Symbol of status.
A symbol of status.
And the fact that I love you, I paid for it for you.
Right, absolutely. And it's not so much about just needing to be thanked for the expensiveness of it. It's more like, well, you deserve this. This is how much I esteem you,
Yes. Very interesting that.
Yeah, so they express their affection cautiously, seriously, dutifully, and mechanically, but with perseverance. They have a need for self-control and are emotionally reserved. So they may at first seem aloof and impersonal, and that can inhibit their development of close relationships. They're ambitious, conservative, and concerned with reputation, but they're capable of extreme loyalty and the dutifulness and responsibility and hard work that it takes to build a long-term relationship. So they can be a wonderful partner in a long-term relationship.
Yes, I think this placement also is looking for a love interest who can help them up the ladder as well.
Yeah.
Not someone who's going to drag them down. That won't do at all.
Right, exactly. This is not someone who's going to be, lifting someone up by their, or being patient while the other person finds themselves. Or no, they want someone who's pulling their own weight at least.
Yes, and equal on the social status as well. Yeah, absolutely. Very important. Yeah. Okay, so let's get to the penultimate one, which is Venus in Aquarius.
Yeah. So this is the last of the air signs. So Stephen Arroyo says, when Venus is placed in the detached, experimental, unpredictable sign of Aquarius, this person has a wide variety of stimulating, often highly intelligent or creative friends. And the freedom to associate with as many people as possible is something that these people insist on. So none of their partners are going to inhibit that freedom for very long and be successful. So their attitude towards love is often very open, liberal, and unconventional. And they embrace freedom, but they also like to feel in control of a relationship. So they can display an extreme and contradictory streak now and then that carries an emotional charge. They can often come across as almost like a Venus in Aries with the their desire to be in charge.
They want it both ways, yeah.
But they can also be startlingly unemotional seeming and just sort of...
Well, that's the nature, isn't it, of Aquarius? Yes.
Exactly. So they express their affection freely, unconventionally, flirtatiously, humorously, and experimentally. They value individual freedom, and they tend towards extremism and rebelliousness. Their detached, impersonal attitude can interfere with close relationships. And they love to exchange theories and ideas. They need to be social, and they need to be able to give freely of their emotional opinions and of their philosophical opinions in order to feel comfortable in a relationship. So if you are constantly like dismissing, oh, you're, just being a conspiracy theorist or whatever, like you're not going to
cut it.
No, exactly.
Wow.
They want to be able to be themselves and talk to their partner.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Or you're just not going to be,
in their sphere.
Yeah, exactly. They might just have a lot of friends and you just might not see them a lot. And, maybe if your Venus is in something where you don't care that much either, that's fine, and you can just have your own lives.
Yeah. But I don't think you can pin this one down, this Venus in Aquarius. No.
No, it's an odd one. And honestly, I looked through all of the charts that I know, and I don't seem to have any friends or family that has this placement. So it's hard for me to even to speak about it personally. But yeah.
All right.
Yeah, if you have that feel free to write into us and let us know
Absolutely.
what it's like in your chart.
Absolutely.
We would love to hear from you.
Okay, so we've got to the final sign now. This is Venus in Pisces.
Yeah, this is the last water sign.
It's the last sign.
Yeah. So, okay, here we go. When Venus is located in the dreamy, idealistic, romantic sign of Pisces, it often takes many experiences and many years to clarify what kind of love and what kind of relationship this person wants. It says no mortal is an adequate recipient of their emotional energies, and sometimes they actually have to pour their feelings into some sort of religious or spiritual practice, or some sort of profession where they can pour all of their emotional investment into it, and not just into one person, which is a very interesting thing, because I've found actually that Pisces is a very enterprising sign, second only to Capricorn in their single-minded pursuit of their career and a sort of an independent expression of their enterprising personality. So that is not always a very friendly thing in a relationship. And they don't really need another person in a lot of ways sometimes.
This is it. This is where you get it's the placement of the Bride of Christ sort of thing, where they just love something else
devotion
altogether.
To something else. Yeah, absolutely. So it says here, they express their affections sensitively, kindly, compassionately, and sympathetically. They're capable of giving selflessly and adapting to others' emotional needs. But escapism, evasion, and confusion can undermine their ability to give of themselves and to receive from others. Their lack of discrimination can also hamper forming solid relationships. So this is the person who, wants to give themselves freely to everyone. And that might not go over with someone who wants to just be their partner.
This is it. I mean, that what Venus position they have is one thing, but can you live with it is another.
Right. Yeah.
And that shows in your Venus position.
For sure. It says here also a need for magical and romantic harmony and idealizing the love interest can also... it can be great, but it can also hinder their ability to actually have a real relationship, because they've got this lofty idea of what love is supposed to be. And
this vision of, yes, I agree.
I'm thinking of the movie, The Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which is a movie with Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet. It's a brilliant and insanely amazing movie. I wouldn't call it a romantic movie, but it's an intense emotional movie. And it really makes me think of this, because it's all about, can you, with all of the knowledge you have of another person, ever really truly be happy with another person once you know their ability to hurt you and all this stuff, which is yikes. So
interesting.
Yeah, Venus and Pisces.
Yeah, it's quite a good placement really for Venus, because it's exalted in Pisces, so it is well placed, and it's happy to be there to softly present. Clearly femininity, love, and all the rest of it. Yeah. But it may not be easy to put your finger on any of it.
And it might not be easy for the other person. So they might feel like they're expressing their Venus perfectly. And in fact, they could be incredibly, it's a very creative placement. Mm-hmm. So they can be intellectually and creatively wonderful. They can be an extreme, intellect or like a musician who is just devoted to their art.
Yes.
But their partner could be like, well, what about me?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's more of a general. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, so Arwynne, we've gone through Venus through all of the signs, and with strong references to Stephen Arroyo. Could you tell us all a little bit more about this book? Is it really for beginners, or where would you put it?
It's interesting, because when I first started to study astrology, 25 or so years ago, it was all Stephen Arroyo's old books, his, karmic whatever, and the elements and all this stuff. He has like 4 books that are amazing, and they were written in the 70s.
Right.
And this is his most recent. It was written in 2007.
Okay.
And it's person-to-person astrology, energy factors in love, sex, and compatibility. And it doesn't just talk about Venus. It's Venus, Mars, the moon, all of these different placements.
Personal relationships.
And it is brilliant. If you are looking for it, I would say it's intermediate, but it's at the same time, it is Stephen Arroyo. So the way he talks is very basic, very down to earth, very psychological. So you will understand it, even if you are just a beginner. And right. if you're a beginner and your main interest in astrology is relationships, is looking at partnerships and the comparison of charts and all that stuff. Or just,
so many people come to astrology for this very reason.
I mean, my first astrology book was Love Signs by Linda Goodman. I think a lot of people got their foot in the door that way. And this is just kind of the next level up. It's just brilliantly written, and it's so accessible and so personable.
Yes.
Like when you read these descriptions where he's called all of these research, hours of research and input from all these different people who actually have these placements, you can just really... It brings all these placements to life so beautifully.
Yeah.
So I really
is it a book?
recommend it.
Although it's a book about relationships, is it looking at Venus and Mars and but not all the other planets? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the personal planets more so.
Oh, the personal planets.
But he also talks about aspects of it. So he talks about like Venus aspects and the outer planets as well.
All right. So you can really have a look at how your personal planets are being expressed through your chart. So this would be a great book. Well, we'll put a link to it below on the podcast and on the blog post as well. There'll be a link to this book for anyone who would be interested in exploring this topic a little further.
Yeah.
All right, so this has been great. We've been talking about Venus through the signs. It's a great introduction to one of the planets in astrology. If any of our listeners found value in this episode, please do consider sharing it with somebody who would be interested. And if you have any questions that you'd like us to address in the future, you are welcome to email both Arwynne and I at starzology@gmail.com. Send us an email, let us know what you think or whatever questions you have, and we will address them in a future episode.
Absolutely. We look forward to hearing from you.
So thank you, Arwynne, so much for being here once more, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Thanks, Alison.
Thanks so much for getting this far through the episode. I just want to take a moment to tell you about the two main options of my astrology services. So the first one is coaching. If you are an aspiring astrologer, and by that I mean someone who's perhaps a hobbyist astrologer or someone who's learning astrology or a student, or you've got a few books and you've been doing it for a while, but perhaps you need a little bit of help to bring it all together, then maybe getting some astrological coaching from me would be the answer for you. The astrology coaching I offer is a 1-hour session on Zoom, and it's tailored to answer your particular questions. For example, if you have issues with natal chart readings, we can go there. Or if you're having problems working with your forecasting, we can go there. Or even basic astrology stuff, or even getting yourself organized for your astrology business. The idea is that astrological coaching will answer your particular questions. It's tailored specifically to you and where you are in your astrological journey. And I'm happy to help you out with some guidance about how you can get going, what to focus on, and what to dismiss. So that would be the astrological coaching for people trying to learn astrology. The second astrological service I offer is consultations. So this is for someone who perhaps doesn't know anything about astrology, but they just want to have their chart read or get their chart done. Call it what you will. So once more, this is a 1-hour consultation over Zoom. I will interpret your chart, tell you about the main features, tell you about where the energy is flowing, and all the rest of what is entailed in a thorough natal chart interpretation. I can also add in some forecasting in there too, bearing in mind we only have 1 hour. So just in summary, I've got coaching for people who want to learn astrology, and I've got consultations for those who want to get an astrology reading done. I'm Alison Price from Starzology.com. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.